Hello, current situation continues and I'm still out of samples, so I found in my pile of different gear, I found another model that I ordered long time ago and wanted to make a review, but then skip it, and now it's the right time to fulfill this promise. So you can see by the box it's model by QKZ VK4, and it's super expensive in ear monitors. Well, at least at our scale, of course, because their price varies from $8 to $12 depending on the seller. And that's actually what regular people call good headphones with good price usually. But for me, of course, and for many of you, it's something super cheap and super affordable. So I wanted to know actually how do they sound and is there a life in below $15 limit. So let's have a closer look. As you can see, box is simple. It actually reminds the matchbox-like packages of KZ and many other manufacturers. But actually, surprisingly, polygraphy is nice because they use embossing and they use combination of matte and glossy paper and this high-res audio logo and actually this earpiece itself as well as company's logo. They are embossed and you can sense them by finger, and actually it gives some additional sense of premium content. So I didn't expect that for $10, but another typical for inexpensive Chinese models feature is listed high-res audio and DSD. Of course, high-res audio has nothing with this in ear monitors. They definitely didn't certify them, and moreover DSD is absolutely have nothing with in-ear monitors at all. Or actually it's earphones, I'm not sure can we call them in-ear monitors. So, and on the back side there are technical specifications. So pin type 0.75mm, they have even replaceable cable, 1.2 meter cable, frequency response from 20 Hz to 40 kHz. I'm pretty sure that it's overestimation. More important is 16 ohms of impedance and 105 decibels of sensitivity, so pretty good figures. Of course, it would be a bit better if impedance would be 32 ohms to reduce the battery consumption, but 16 ohms are also okay, and 105 decibels means that they won't be too sensitive and too noise speaking. And actually this humble and modest guys also printed red dot logo. If I remember right, it's red dot design award. They didn't write it, but they printed logo. Anyway, inside they looks totally like some KZ model, and it's okay for $10 QKZ. Actually, I wonder, do they have something in common with KZ or not? And besides being built on the same plant, it's I think it's a shame for KZ to pack 50 and more dollar models in the same package. Actually, it's stuck a little bit, so I need something to get it out. I almost did that, so yeah, here we are. Sorry for technical difficulties. You will have earpieces themselves. I think it's safe to push them this way, like peels from blister. You will have earpieces themselves, 3 additional pair of tips, actually not even 2, stock cable, and also a short clip. So as you can see, comparing with even more expensive KZ models, they offer more accessories, additional set of tips and short clip, so it's premium content. So let's put all the unnecessary stuff out of the table. So in terms of design, they actually not that bad as one can expect. Of course, it's totally plastic, even no metal tube. Probably that's the noticeable part of I don't know, QKZ cheapest models, metal tube, so board is made of plastic, but in general it's common shape that we've seen many times before, kind of reminder of that replaceable model that 64 audio use. Pretty nice looking faceplate with carbon-like texture. It's not carbon, of course, it's just some printed texture, but anyway, looks pretty okay. I think there are two different versions, this gray one and another blue-pink. In terms of wearing comfort, they are pretty nice, similar to QKZ models and other in-ear monitors with a similar design, so they will provide about average sound isolation, even a bit above average sometimes. There is a lip for holding the tips and protective grill. Lip could be bigger, of course, but anyway. Cable is made replaceable and stock cable is pretty bad. It's super soft, super thin, so it doesn't look durable, but for this price range I think it's possible to spend like additional $5 or so to get some other cable. There are better offers on the market. Anyway, connectors are pretty tight, so fit is good. There is ear hook format, no memory wire inside, but anyway it serves pretty good for holding the cable around your ear. Cable is pretty thin, but it's soft, so no microphonic effect, no issues with it. Getting a bit hard when it's cold and it's tangling sometimes. There is a microphone and playback control, but of course microphone quality is below average, so you need to move it closer to your mouth if you want to use it. And here is splitter, and after the splitter it goes braided down to the jack, so cable is simple, but anyway for this price it's okay. Besides that, design is normal and accessory set is also normal, so as you can see they definitely worth this price in terms of presentation. And of course about the sound, if I remember right, it's a single dynamic driver, and actually it's a good idea because, you know, it's not that hard to put tens of drivers inside of one earpiece. Much more harder, and actually it's the most complex thing, is to tune them in a proper way to sound coherent and so on. So if you making inexpensive in-ear monitors, I'm sure that the best idea is to use a single driver. Find a proper driver and give it a shell and you will done. And this earphones is a great example actually on how you can stand out from the crowd, how you can create a good thing doing everything not in a mass market way. So basically QKZ did one thing that makes these earphones really interesting and unusual. They decided not to make them bass heavy. They actually even bass light, and for this price range it's a bit unusual tuning. Actually not a bit, it's definitely unusual tuning, because vast majority of cheap in-ear monitors or cheap earphones, it's just something bassy, warm and muffled. While this one is more on the neutral and even on the brighter side. And actually let's speak about the sound step by step. To show examples I will use FIO M15 Pro, because you know this in-ear monitors surprised me in a pleasant way. Of course, don't expect like performance of much more expensive $20 earphones, but for $10 they are definitely good, and at least they deserve the price to live, the right to live. So They are a bit bass light. Actually, bass is present here, it goes pretty deep. Not the deepest, but the deeper layers of bass are present, but they move just a bit on the lighter side of things, so they don't provide big bass, lot of rumble, lot of kick, so don't expect that. And basically it's not a model for mass market because of that. Just a bit added weight on low frequencies probably will increase their interest, will increase interest to these earphones from the mass market, but actually we are wannabe audiophiles here, so for us it's a good thing. At the same time it has more or less normal resolution, so it's suiting more for the acoustic instruments like fortepiano, acoustic double bass and so on. You know, it's pretty surprising to get such tuning for $10. But of course, with electronic music, with pop music, with genres that require additional low frequencies, it's probably not the best choice, but of course it's a matter of taste. They are not as bass light as they could be, so it's not lacking the low frequencies, it's just lacking of that additional weight that requires for some genres. And actually, as an example, I've got pretty complex track for them. It's Pain of Salvation acoustic album, Falling Home, and track named To the Shoreline. They have nice bass guitar here and good drums, so it requires natural sounding low frequencies, and these in-ear monitors at least manage to deliver a nice amount of body for these instruments. Of course, don't expect superb resolution or some realistic attacks and decays, but you know, that's the level that I can call acceptable, and for $10 it's really good. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Of course, having single driver means maximum coherence, so lows transition to mids smoothly. And what is surprising here, mids are not recessed. They recessed a little bit, but not as usual, as typical for the V-shaped in-ear monitor. So you don't have this mid that stands background, stands besides the bass and treble. So even with average resolution that these in-ear monitors have, they still manage to deliver a pretty normal amount of micro contrast. So they're a bit focused on the micro contrast, and actually they are even sometimes being a little bit picky for the quality of recordings, but not often, of course, just in some rare cases. Of course, resolution is slightly above average, but still pretty normal, acceptable result. So don't expect like super detalization monsters, don't expect good balance of weight. They are a bit on the lean side of things, but still pretty normal in case you want more resolution and actually more focus on the micro contrast. Sometimes they even manage to deliver in a nice and acceptable way pretty complex tracks like the Call of Cthulhu by the Metallica Symphony and Metal. Of course, they lacking naturalism, they lacking all that rich nuances, but at least they manage not to, you know, to squish every single instrument into one pile of sound. So it's sounding, well, listenable, nice, and also actually they have even a bit above average in width and in depth imaginary stage, so it's also a pretty good result. Not some super layering, but nice amount of three-dimensional positioning. And treble here is accented, so it's not probably a model for those who don't like treble at all. They are not super harsh, but they have a noticeable accent on treble. Extension is average, so all that stuff with 40 kHz as upper range, of course it's just some fiction. Maybe they play above 20 kHz, but that part of sonic spectrum is recessed beyond the human ear's limit. but actually it's something that you can expect from the inexpensive model. At least they managed to play the basic part of treble with nice resolution and more or less realistic attacks and decays. No treble layering, of course, no rich overtone saturation, but that's not the model created for such stuff. And as an example, I've got John Carpenter, Domain, great director and pretty good musician with his own style both in movies and in music, and this track is filled with different synthesizers. It's almost the popular modern retro wave probably, but of course some synthesizers are really high pitched, so they require normal treble, and this in-ear monitors deliver that. So to summarize everything, pretty natural model with average resolution, but for this price it's okay. A bit accented treble, so basically it's a model for those who want mid and treble forward model for cheap. And actually bass is also pretty resolving, but of course lacking a bit of weight, so if they added bit weight probably it would be a nice plus, but at the same time probably it would made mids more muffled and veiled. And speaking about the sources, of course they can be used with everything, and they created for the smartphones, probably it's a good pairing, just to get something natural. Some equalization also can help with them, so adding bit lows with equalizer just can improve them. It's not the model that will suffer from the equalizer. And speaking about the comparisons, actually the only model is QKZ ZSN Pro, if I remember right, what is their $15 or $14 hybrid model. It's more V-shaped with more accented lows, more weight, and a bit more detailed treble because they used balanced armature, but at the same time mids are a bit recessed in the QKZ ZSN Pro, so it's a bit different tuning. This one is more natural, while ZSN is more V-shaped, so it's a matter of taste what you prefer. So to summarize everything, you know, QKZ VK4, it's not a giant killer, but for this price it's a pretty decent model that is pretty listenable and pretty enjoyable. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.